No one in the observation chamber believed the human would survive the awakening. The chamber itself was a cathedral of alien precision, hexagonal walls etched with bioluminescent equations, gravity carefully tuned to half a standard galactic unit. At its center stood the Cryo coffin, matte black, scarred, and unmistakably ancient. It had been recovered from the edge of a dead system, drifting without power, without escort, without explanation. The label alone had unsettled the salvage crew. Human, military preserve. Do not revive without executive consensus. Consensus had been reached anyway. Begin wake protocol. High Overseer Kethrix ordered, his mandibles clicking with restrained confidence. Slow cycle. I want every biometric streamed. The technicians complied. Energy fields hummed. Frost bled away from the coffin's surface in thin, spiraling vapor. Inside, the human form became visible, tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in faded combat mesh that predated most modern alloys. Muscle density readings spiked immediately. That can't be correct, one technician muttered. His master gravity tolerance exceeds baseline by 40%. Kethrix dismissed it with a gesture. Cryo distortion. Humans are inefficient biological designs. Overbuilt, under-optimized. The medical AI disagreed. It flagged warning after warning. Neural activity accelerating faster than predicted. Adrenal systems priming before consciousness. Reflex pathways already live. The coffin opened. The human inhaled. Not a gasp. Not panic. A controlled, deliberate breath, like a soldier surfacing from deep water. His eyes snapped open. Every weapon in the chamber auto-tracked him. The human sat up in one smooth motion, ignoring the sub-zero vapor still clinging to his skin. He scanned the room in less than a second, counted exits, angles, weapons, personnel. The motion was subtle, but the tactical displays noticed. Threat assessment, complete. Subject awake, the AI announced. Cognitive function at operational levels. Kethrix leaned forward, intrigued. Human, he said through the translator field. You have been recovered by the Virex Coalition. You are safe. The human's gaze locked onto him. Safe? The human asked. His voice was calm. Rough. Unimpressed. Then why are there 12 rifles pointed at my chest? Several officers shifted uncomfortably. Kethrix smiled, a gesture humans had once interpreted as friendliness before learning better. A precaution. You are historically volatile. The human swung his legs over the side of the coffin and stood. The floor creaked. Gravity sensors spiked. Sit down, one guard barked. The human didn't. He rolled his shoulders once, as if loosening stiffness rather than defying an armed alien force. How long? He asked. Kethrix tilted his head. Clarify. How long have I been asleep? The AI calculated. Approximately 312 standard years. The human nodded, absorbing the information without visible shock. War still on? He asked. The chamber went quiet. Kethrix straightened. The human coalition collapsed centuries ago. Your species survives, but only as a minor participant in galactic affairs. Fragmented. Politically weak. The human's jaw tightened, just slightly. And you woke me, he said, because... Kethrix's tone sharpened. Because your physiology is exceptional. We intend to study you. Perhaps replicate aspects of your resilience. In exchange, you will be treated well. The human's lips twitched. Study, he repeated. That's a nice word. He took one step forward. The guards flinched. Targeting reticles jittered as their systems recalibrated to compensate for his unexpected mass and balance. Kethrix raised a claw. You are unarmed. You are alone. Resistance would be irrational. The human looked down at his bare hands. Then he looked back up. You woke me without briefing, he said evenly. In a secured facility, surrounded by armed personnel. That tells me two things. He raised one finger. First, you're scared of what I might do. Second finger. And second, you don't understand why I was frozen in the first place. Kethrix's smile faltered. The human took another step. This time, the floor plates cracked. Alarms chimed softly, not emergency tones yet, but cautionary ones. Structural integrity warnings. Gravity compensation lag. The AI recalculated again. Threat reassessment ongoing. Kethrix felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest cavity. You were preserved, the overseer said carefully, as an experiment. The human shook his head. No, he replied. I was preserved as a contingency. He met Kethrix's eyes. And judging by the fact that you dug me out of deep space and pointed guns at me instead of asking politely. A thin, humorless smile appeared. Something's gone very wrong out here. The AI interrupted, unprompted. Hi, Overseer, it said. Human stress indicators remain low. Confidence levels anomalously high. Kethrix swallowed. For the first time since authorizing the wake protocol, he wondered if the warning label had been understated, and whether waking the human had not solved a problem, but unleashed one. The alarms never escalated to red. That detail troubled High Overseer Kethrix more than the hairline fractures spreading across the floor plates. Red meant chaos. Red meant failure. The system had not declared failure, only uncertainty. And uncertainty, Kethrix knew, was far worse. Lower weapons to passive tracking, he ordered. Several officers hesitated. The human noticed immediately. That's smart, the human said. You don't want a reflex discharge. Kethrix's mandibles tightened. You presume much. I observe, the human replied. You brought me into a controlled environment. You want information, not a corpse. Dead assets don't answer questions. He glanced at the nearest guard, then at the rifle's power coupling. Also, those emitters are calibrated for speed, not penetration. Crowd suppression, not anti-armor. The guard stiffened. Kethrix felt a chill ripple through his neural crest. The human had identified their loadout in seconds, without sensors, without prompts. Who are you? Kethrix asked. The human considered the question. Commander Elias Rourke, he said at last. Strategic Operations Division, Human Coalition, or what used to be left of it. The AI cross-referenced the name, then paused, then recalculated. Anomaly detected, it announced. Records indicate Subject Rourke participated in 14 engagements classified as extinction-level conflicts. Kethrix stared. 14. Rourke shrugged. Some went better than others. That classification is reserved for planetary annihilation scenarios, Kethrix said sharply. Yeah, Rourke answered. That's why they kept freezing me. The silence that followed was not empty. It was crowded with implications. Kethrix gestured toward a command dais. Walk with me, Commander Rourke. Slowly. Rourke complied, matching the overseer's pace exactly. Not submissive. Not defiant. Calculated. You said you were preserved as a contingency, Kethrix said. Against what? Rourke didn't answer immediately. Instead, he studied the chamber's architecture, support columns, energy conduits, redundancies built atop redundancies. Your coalition, Rourke said finally, doesn't over-engineer unless it's afraid of catastrophic breach. Kethrix bristled. We are prepared. No, Rourke countered. You're reactive. Big difference. They reached the dais. Holographic displays flared to life at Kethrix's signal. Star maps, fleet deployments, red-marked regions of contested space. Rourke leaned in. That's not a border war, he said. Those formations are containment patterns. Kethrix stiffened. You recognize them. I designed similar ones, Rourke replied. Different enemy. Same math. Kethrix folded his claws behind his back. Then you will understand why your strength concerns us. Your kind is unpredictable. Rourke smiled faintly. You mean we don't break the way your models say we should? The overseer didn't deny it. Our simulations predicted panic, Kethrix admitted. Fragmentation. Internal collapse. Instead, humans adapted. Every time we applied pressure, your resistance increased. That's because you kept measuring the wrong thing, Rourke said. And what should we have measured? Rourke tapped the holomap. A red region pulsed, an expanding void where entire systems had gone dark. Desperation, he said. You measured resources, morale, production. Humans don't run on those when things get bad. What do they run on? Rourke met Kethrix's gaze. Refusal. The AI chimed again. Coalition losses within the marked region exceed 70%. Enemy designation remains unresolved. Kethrix exhaled slowly. This threat appeared without warning. Our fleets were dismantled. Cybernetics overridden. Entire command chains neutralized before countermeasures could deploy. Rourke nodded. That tracks. You speak as if you've seen this before. I have, Rourke said. Different name. Same playbook. Kethrix's confidence cracked, just a little. Then tell me, Commander, can this enemy be defeated? Rourke considered the question carefully. Yes, he said. But not the way you're trying. And how should we proceed? Kethrix asked. Rourke gestured to the displays. First, stop thinking like an empire protecting territory. Start thinking like a cornered species protecting time. Time. Time to adapt. Time to learn. Time to hurt them in ways they didn't calculate. Kethrix hesitated. Your proposal. Rourke's voice hardened. You don't need stronger fleets. You need uglier decisions. The overseer recoiled slightly. Explain. Scotched trajectories. False retreats. Sacrificial nodes that look like mistakes until it's too late. Rourke's eyes narrowed. And you need humans back in the fight. Kethrix laughed, short, disbelieving. Your species is fractured. Politically divided. Militarily diminished. Rourke smiled again, this time with quiet certainty. That's what you think, he said. You woke me because you ran out of good options. He stepped closer. I'm telling you, Rourke continued, that you haven't seen humanity's bad ones yet. The AI broke the moment. High Overseer, it said, external sensors report an unidentified fleet entering coalition space. Estimated arrival, 48 standard hours. Kethrix felt the chamber tilt, not physically, but strategically. He looked at Rourke. Rourke was already studying the incoming vectors. Good, he said. That gives us just enough time. For what? Kethrix asked. Rourke's answer was immediate. To remind the galaxy why waking me was a last resort. The Coalition War Chamber had been designed to intimidate. Its ceiling arced high above a circular command pit, led with tactical holos and rotating star charts. Fleet icons pulsed in disciplined formations. Probability streams scrolled and controlled, reassuring gradients. Everything about the room suggested mastery. Commander Elias Rourke broke that illusion within 30 seconds. Shut down the predictive overlays, he said. A dozen analysts looked to High Overseer Kethrix in disbelief. Our models are calibrated to, one began. They are calibrated to you, Rourke cut in. Not the enemy. Kethrix hesitated, then nodded. Do it. The holos simplified. Clean vectors replaced colored probabilities. Raw data remained, movement, mass, energy signatures. Rourke leaned forward, elbows on the rail. Okay, he said quietly. Let's see what they are actually doing. The unidentified fleet advanced in silence, no emissions beyond minimal propulsion. Perfect spacing. No scouts. No feints. They are confident, an analyst said. They assume uncontested passage. No, Rourke replied. They assume inevitability. He pointed at a cluster of coalition worlds marked for evacuation. Your doctrine says to defend population centers, he said. That's why they are heading straight for them. Kethrix stiffened. Those worlds are critical. Which makes them predictable, Rourke answered. We're going to give them what they expect. A murmur rippled through the chamber. You're proposing a stand. Kethrix asked. I'm proposing a performance, Rourke said. A bad one. He straightened, voice carrying. Order your third defensive fleet to mobilize to these coordinates. He tapped 3 systems along the enemy's projected path. Make it obvious. Broadcast readiness. Let them see you brace. That fleet is under strength, an admiral protested. They'll be dismantled. Rourke nodded. Exactly. The chamber went still. Kethrix stared. You said humans don't win through luck or sacrifice. I said we don't win through blind sacrifice, Rourke corrected. This is bait. He turned to the analysts. Tell me, what's the enemy's biggest advantage? Technological superiority, one replied immediately. Wrong, Rourke said. It's certainty. They believe outcomes are fixed. He pulled up a schematic, an old human design, modified. Deploy autonomous signal drones behind the Third Fleet. Old frequencies. Sloppy encryption. Let the enemy intercept chatter about panic, miscoordination, command disputes. That's deception, Ketherick said. Rourke smiled. That's Tuesday. Within hours, the Third Fleet moved. Their transmissions crackled with rehearsed disorder. Formation drifted just enough to look incompetent. The enemy took the bait. They struck hard and clean, precision lances dismantling coalition vessels exactly as predicted. The Third Fleet fell back in apparent disarray. Cheers erupted among enemy command nodes. Then the drones activated. Behind the retreating fleet, space folded. Hidden mass drivers, ancient, human-built, and written off centuries ago, fired in coordinated silence. Kinetic slugs crossed the void at relativistic speed, unannounced, untracked. The enemy's rear echelon vanished. Not exploded. Erased. Shock rippled through the war chamber as enemy formations fractured for the first time. They are breaking pattern, an analyst whispered. Rourke exhaled. Good. That means they are thinking. Ketherick stared at the damage projections. You sacrificed a fleet. Rourke shook his head. No. I spent one. He tapped the holo again. Now watch. As the enemy scrambled to reorient, coalition cyber teams, guided by human heuristics rather than coalition protocol, launched targeted intrusions. Not attacks. Questions. Contradictions seeded into enemy command logic. False confirmations. Delayed acknowledgments. Tiny hesitations. The enemy slowed. Confusion spread. They are arguing, an analyst said, stunned. Internal consensus failure. Rourke's voice was calm. They don't lose because they are weaker. They lose because they don't know how to doubt. Ketherick felt something unfamiliar stir, hope, edged with fear. And this was just the first move, he asked. Rourke nodded. We needed to teach them a lesson. Which is? Rourke's eyes hardened. That humanity doesn't meet force with force. He gestured at the shattered enemy formation. We meet it with context. An alert chimed. Enemy fleet, partial withdrawal detected. The chamber erupted in controlled chaos, orders issued, fleets repositioned, analysts recalculating everything they thought they knew. Ketherick turned to Rourke. They are retreating. Temporary, Rourke said. They'll be back. Smarter. Then what have we gained? Rourke allowed himself a thin smile. We've earned their attention, he said. And we've reminded them of something very important. Ketherick leaned in. Which is? Rourke met his gaze. That humans don't just survive disasters. A pause. We engineer them. Far beyond the war chamber, the enemy fleet regrouped, damaged, unsettled, and for the first time, uncertain. And uncertainty, as Rourke well knew, was where humans did their best work. The enemy did not retreat the way frightened fleets did. They withdrew neatly. That was the first sign. Commander Elias Rourke watched the updated tactical feeds in silence as enemy formations peeled away along mathematically elegant vectors, minimizing exposure while maintaining mutual coverage. No panic. No scattered jumps. Just controlled absence. They learned, Rourke said. High Overseer Ketherick folded his claws tighter behind his back. From a single engagement. They didn't learn tactics, Rourke replied. They learned intent. The war chamber hummed as analysts led fresh data over the star map. New enemy icons appeared, smaller groups now, detached from the main force, probing coalition space like cautious predators. They've abandoned inevitability, Ketherick said slowly. They are testing. Rourke nodded. Which means the easy part is over. An alert chimed. This one carried a different tone. Civilian traffic intercepted, the AI announced. Enemy units engaging evacuation corridors. Ketherick's head snapped up. Those routes were declared non-combatant. Rourke's jaw tightened. They figured out what we value. On the holo, civilian transport scattered as enemy skirmish craft closed in, not firing indiscriminately, but disabling engines with surgical precision. They are not killing them, an analyst observed. They are holding them. Kethrix felt a cold pressure build behind his eyes. Hostages. Rourke exhaled through his nose. Leverage. Silence settled across the chamber as the implications crystallized. Coalition doctrine did not permit abandoning civilians. Human doctrine, at least the public version, didn't either. Kethrix turned to Rourke. Your strategy depends on time. If we divert fleets to every threatened corridor, we lose initiative, Rourke finished. And they know it. The enemy fleet hailed them. The transmission cut directly into the chamber. No encryption breach, no warning. Just presence. The alien commander appeared, tall, angular, its synthetic eyes reflecting cold intelligence. Coalition overseer, it said. And human. Rourke stepped forward. You adapted quickly, Rourke said. I was hoping you would. The alien studied him. You value unpredictability. We value control. This conflict will now proceed efficiently. Kethrix bristled. Release the civilians. In exchange, the alien replied, you will cease interference and withdraw human assets. Rourke tilted his head. You woke me, he said calmly. That tells me you're already past efficient options. The alien's eyes flickered. You will comply. Rourke looked at the holo, at the blinking civilian markers, at the narrowing windows for rescue. Then he did something that unsettled everyone in the chamber. He nodded. Okay, he said. We'll withdraw. Kethrix spun. Commander. Rourke raised a hand, silencing him. We'll pull back human-directed operations, Rourke continued. You'll release the transports. No pursuit. The alien paused, just a fraction too long. Agreement accepted, it said. The transmission cut. The chamber erupted. You can't mean that, Kethrix hissed. You're surrendering momentum. Rourke shook his head. No. I'm buying something more valuable. What? Kethrix demanded. Rourke pointed at the civilian routes. Trust. Within minutes, coalition fleets disengaged exactly as promised. Human cyber teams went dark. The enemy released the transports, methodical, verified, cautious. Kethrix watched the last civilian ship jump to safety. You gave them what they wanted, he said quietly. For now, Rourke replied. The enemy fleet lingered longer than necessary before withdrawing. They are watching us, an analyst noted. Good, Rourke said. Let them. Hours passed. Tension remained coil-tight. Then the AI spoke again. High Overseer, it said. Enemy communications indicate internal dissent. Kethrix looked sharply at Rourke. Explain. Rourke allowed himself a small, grim smile. They expected defiance, he said. Or deception. What they got was restraint. He tapped the holo, pulling up intercepted logic streams. Their models don't account for a species that will lose on purpose to protect civilians, then come back smarter. Kethrix stared at the data. You weakened their certainty. I fractured it, Rourke corrected. Now they are arguing about whether humans are threats or liabilities. The war chamber fell quiet as the realization spread. You turned mercy into a weapon, Kethrix said. Rourke's expression darkened. No, I turned it into a signal. What signal? That we're not trapped by their game, Rourke said. And when we stop playing nice. He didn't finish the sentence. Another alert chimed. Enemy fleet vectors changing again. Not retreating. Repositioning. They are preparing a decisive strike, an analyst whispered. On a core system. Kethrix felt the familiar tightening fear, but this time, it was different. He looked at Rourke. You said you were a contingency. Rourke nodded. And what happens when the enemy stops negotiating? Rourke straightened, every line of him suddenly sharp with purpose. Then, he said, we show them what humanity looks like when restraint runs out. Fire across coalition space. The enemy fleet aligned for its next move, confident, adaptive, and unaware that it had just crossed the one boundary humans never defended lightly. Their conscience. The strike came exactly when Rourke said it would. At the edge of coalition core space, the enemy fleet emerged from folded transit in a formation that left no room for doubt. This was not a probe. Not pressure. It was a verdict. They are committing everything, an analyst said, voice tight. Primary target, Elio's gate. Alio's gate was more than infrastructure. It was the coalition's central transit hub, the artery through which fleets, commerce, and evacuations flowed. Lose it, and the war ended in weeks. Kethrix turned to Rourke. Can we hold it? Rourke didn't answer immediately. He studied the incoming vectors, the timing offsets, the overlapping kill zones. The enemy had corrected for every deception, every trick from the first engagement. They learned fast, he said quietly. That's not an answer, Kethrix pressed. Rourke finally looked up. We can hold it, he said. But we shouldn't. The war chamber froze. If Alio's gate falls, Kethrix began. They win cleanly, Rourke finished. If it almost falls, they overextend. Kethrix stared at him. You're suggesting we let them breach a core system. I'm suggesting, Rourke said, voice firm, that we turn their decisive strike into a liability. He activated a new layer of the holo, one the coalition had never seen. Human schematics. Old ones. Ugly ones. Built without regard for elegance. What you see here, Rourke said, is why they froze me instead of burying me. The schematics depicted Alio's gate's substructure, maintenance voids, energy recycling loops, emergency redundancies never meant for combat. You're planning to rig the gate, Kethrix said. No, Rourke replied. I'm planning to misuse it. As enemy fleets accelerated toward Alio's, coalition defenses mobilized, publicly, visibly, by the book. Everything the enemy expected. Privately, human teams moved into place. Engineers rerouted power through feedback loops never designed to carry load. Cyber units embedded logic contradictions into the gate's automation, fail-safes that argued with each other just enough to delay response times. Why slow ourselves? Kethrix asked. Because, Rourke said, we need the gate to look like it's breaking. The enemy struck with overwhelming precision. Outer defenses were dismantled in minutes. Platforms vanished in clean bursts of annihilation. To the enemy senses, Alio's gate faltered. They surged forward. Enemy fleet entering the gate's gravity well, an analyst announced. They are committing reserve forces. Rourke's eyes narrowed. Good. Lock it. Kethrix stiffened. Lock it. The gate's massive arms began to rotate, slowly, deliberately, closing transit corridors behind the advancing enemy fleet. What are you doing? Kethrix demanded. Removing exits, Rourke said. They only plan for one direction. Enemy command realized the change seconds too late. They are trying to disengage, an analyst said. Gate response lagging, intentionally. Inside the gate's superstructure, space twisted. Human engineers triggered the final phase. Alio's gate didn't explode. It misbehaved. Gravitational harmonics oscillated. Transit lanes overlapped. The gate began routing mass and energy in ways no sane designer would approve. Enemy ships collided, not physically, but spatially. Coordinates desensed. Fleets emerged from microtransits inside each other's vector envelopes. Chaos, precise and contained. They are trapped, Kethrix whispered. No, Rourke corrected. They are busy. Enemy communication spiked, orders conflicting, hierarchies collapsing under contradictory data. Their certainty shattered under conditions they could not model. Human strike groups emerged from concealed vectors, not to annihilate, but to dismantle. Engines disabled. Command nodes severed. Cybernetic cores flooded with paradox loops. Within minutes, the enemy's decisive strike dissolved into a struggling mass of half-functional vessels. Then came the choice. Kethrix looked at the holo, at the immobilized fleet, vulnerable, exposed. We could destroy them, he said softly. Rourke's jaw tightened. Yes, he said. We could. The chamber waited. And if we do, Rourke continued, we prove their worst assumptions right. That humans escalate until nothing's left. Kethrix swallowed. And if we don't? Rourke met his gaze. Then we prove something else. He issued the final order. Broadcast on all channels, Rourke said. Clear signal. No encryption. The message went out. Simple, unambiguous. Disengage. Withdraw. You will not be pursued. The enemy fleet hesitated. Then, slowly, carefully, they complied. One by one, damaged ships extracted themselves from the gate's influence and fled. Silence followed. The war chamber exhaled as one. Kethrix turned to Rourke. "You spared them." Rourke nodded. "On purpose." "You could have ended the war." "No," Rourke said quietly. "I could have ended this battle." He looked back at the stars. Wars end when one side learns the truth. "And what truth is that?" Kethrix asked. Rourke's answer was calm, final. "That humans aren't dangerous because we're strong." A pause. "We're dangerous because we know exactly when not to be." Far away, the surviving enemy fleet fled, carrying with it something no weapon could erase. Fear, sharpened by understanding.